The neon lights of downtown Chicago reflected off wet pavement, shimmering like scattered diamonds. Ava Harper leaned against the glass window of a small coffee shop on Michigan Avenue, cradling her cup of dark roast. The city pulsed around her, a living entity of honking horns, distant sirens, and conversations she only half caught. To the world, she was just another 20-year-old journalist, chasing stories, deadlines, and dreams. But tonight, something felt different. She hadn't expected to meet someone not here, not now. Not in the middle of a Thursday night, where the city's energy seemed almost electric with possibilities and secrets. He walked in like he owned the place, though his tailored suit suggested otherwise. Lucas Bennett. The first time she noticed him, he was laughing with a group of friends, eyes crinkling with genuine amusement. It wasn't arrogance, it was magnetic confidence. He had that rare charm that made strangers feel like old friends. And in that instant, Ava felt the stirrings of curiosity she hadn't felt in months. Their eyes met over the rims of her coffee cup. And for a moment, the cacophony of the city faded. The rest of the coffee shop blurred. There was something in his gaze, a subtle mix of mischief and warmth, that made her heart skip. A laugh escaped her, unbidden, and he smiled back. That smile that seemed to promise stories untold. "You come here often?" he asked, his voice deep, smooth, confident, yet unpretentious. "Only when I need inspiration," Ava replied, not wanting to seem too eager. But inside, her pulse was betraying her calm exterior. "Journalist," he guessed, almost playfully. Ava blinked. "You have a knack for noticing things." Lucas's smile widened. "Observant is better than knowing, don't you think?" And just like that, the conversation flowed, effortless, like two rivers converging. He asked questions that seemed simple, yet each one pulled her in deeper. He was charming, articulate, and thoughtfuler, rare combination that felt almost unreal in a city so full of cynicism. She found herself laughing more than she had in weeks, sharing small truths about her life, little victories at work, her love for Chicago-style deep dish pizza, and the fact that she'd been raised just a few blocks away, but had never felt truly at home until now. Lucas listened as if every word mattered. He even teased her about her overly meticulous notes on a recent feature about urban renewal. But it was teasing that didn't stint, invited connection. By the time the clock chimed 9, Ava realized she had lost track of ours, the city outside a distant hum. But as he stood to leave, he paused. "Hey, maybe I could take you out sometime. Properly. Dinner, not just coffee." Ava's chest tightened. She wasn't supposed to get swept up in charm like this. She had rules. Walls. A lifetime of being careful. But there was something dangerous and irresistible about him. She nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. "Dinner sounds." "Nice," she said, hoping she sounded casual and not entirely captivated as he left. She didn't notice the small flicker of hesitation in his eyes, or the tiny smirk he quickly masked before stepping into the rainy night. Something about Lucas was electric, intoxicating, and yet puzzling. He was perfect. Almost too perfect. Later, lying in bed, Ava replayed every word, every laugh, every glance. She tried to rationalize it. It was just a connection, nothing more. But her heart whispered otherwise, and as she drifted into sleep, she didn't know that this encounter, seemingly innocent and serendipitous, would pull her into a whirlwind of love, deception, and choices that would challenge everything she believed about trust. In a flashback, Ava remembered her last serious relationship, a betrayal that left her wary and protective. It was Lucas's presence that triggered a storm of emotions she had buried. The sting of lies, the yearning for real love, and the fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, someone could be both true and irresistible. Outside, the city never slept, and neither did the secrets it held. The first proper date with Lucas Bennett was nothing short of cinematic. Ava couldn't remember the last time she felt such anticipation, the kind that made her stomach flutter, and her thoughts tangle with excitement and caution all at once. Lucas had suggested a quaint Italian bistro tucked away in the Lincoln Park district. far enough from the touristy streets, close enough to feel intimate as they walked through the drizzle. Umbrellas brushing against each other. Lucas talked about his work well, parts of it. He described himself as a consultant for creative startups, mentioning projects that sounded impressive but intentionally vague. Ava nodded, laughing at his casual jokes about pitch meetings and sleepless nights. Every detail painted him as ambitious, grounded, and wildly charismatic. Over spaghetti and garlic bread, Lucas leaned forward, brushing a stray hair from Ava's face. "I have to admit," he said, voice low and sincere, "there's something about you that feels different, real." Ava's chest tightened. Different, real. Those words had been absent from her past. Her last boyfriend had been all charm and convenience. She'd learned the hard way that perfect words often hid flawed intentions. She tried to smile, to relax, but her journalistic instincts buzzed in the back of her mind, probing the tiny inconsistencies she noticed in Lucas's speech. Yet tonight, under warm candlelight, with soft jazz playing faintly from the speakers above, she wanted to forget caution. The evening moved with a rhythm that felt predestined. Lucas asked questions that cut deeper than surface small talk. He inquired about her family, her childhood in Chicago, even her favorite slice of deep-dish pizza, which, she revealed, with mock seriousness, must always be from Giordano's. She laughed as he teased her, promising that he'd take notes and judge her taste. But then came the subtle flickers that made her curiosity sharpen. He mentioned a trip to San Francisco last summer. Yet when Ava asked what neighborhood he stayed in, he waved it off with a laugh. "I was just visiting friends," he said vaguely. Another time, he referred to a mutual acquaintance she didn't recognize, claiming they had met at a business conference in Denver. But when Ava probed, he quickly shifted topics. Ava's instincts told her something was off, but every time she tried to dwell on it, Lucas's charm pulled her back. He had this way of making everything feel urgent yet safe, thrilling yet comforting. By the time dessert arrived, tiramisu, that melted like silk in their mouths, she was caught in a tension she didn't want to name. Walking back toward her apartment, the rain had stopped, leaving the streets glittering with reflections of street lamps and neon signs. Lucas reached for her hand. "I want this, whatever this is." "To last," he said, eyes searching hers for a hint of agreement. Ava hesitated. Her past screamed at her to run, to question, to protect herself. But there was that pull, that undeniable electricity. "I want that too," she admitted softly. That night, lying in her apartment, Ava replayed every laugh, every glance, every touch. But her mind couldn't ignore the tiny unease that flickered in her chest. Lucas was perfect, almost too perfect. And in the quiet of her room, she realized that the stories he told, though charming, sometimes didn't add up. The memory of her last betrayal surged unexpectedly. She remembered sitting in her old apartment 3 years ago, reading an email that revealed her ex-boyfriend had been living a double life. The hurt, the heartbreak, the crushing disbelief had changed her. She wasn't that naive person anymore. And yet, Lucas stirred something she hadn't felt since: hope. The following week, their relationship deepened rapidly. Lunches turned into dinners, weekend strolls along Lake Michigan, visits to the Art Institute, where they argued good-naturedly over modern art versus classic paintings. Ava noticed small things: Lucas's tendency to avoid certain questions about his family, vague references to old jobs, and an almost obsessive charm that seemed perfectly timed. One evening, over slices of thin-crust pizza at a small joint near Wrigley Field, Lucas confessed, "I've never met someone like you before. You make me want to be better." His voice was earnest, eyes locked on hers, and Ava felt a warmth that made her defenses crumble. But deep down, she couldn't shake the journalist's instinct. Something about him was constructed like a carefully woven story designed to enchant. Her fingers traced the edge of her napkin as she thought about it. Was it intuition, paranoia, or the subtle hints she was beginning to see? Still, she couldn't resist him. The thrill of Lucas's presence, his laugh, the way he listened, how could she? By the end of that week, she was falling faster than she had in years. suspended between love and suspicion, trust and doubt. Little did Ava know. Lucas had his own secrets, carefully guarded. The truth was buried beneath charm, ambition, and charisma, waiting for the perfect moment to surface. And the deeper Ava fell, the more dangerous it became, not just for her heart, but for the life she thought she knew. Because sometimes the most captivating love begins with the smallest lie. The weekend arrived with a strange mix of warmth and rain, typical Chicago. Spring day where the sun fought through the clouds, reflecting off the glass towers like fleeting hope. Ava had agreed to meet Lucas at Millennium Park, a casual picnic between work and errands. She carried a wicker basket, packed with homemade sandwiches, apples, and a thermos of iced tea. Lucas had insisted on bringing nothing but his charm, and somehow, that was enough. They spread a blanket near the fountain, its jets spraying tiny rainbows under the afternoon sun. Lucas leaned back, tossing an apple in the air and catching it like a boy who had never grown up. "You really put thought into this?" he said, biting into a sandwich. "I appreciate it." Ava smiled, but as she reached for her iced tea, a question lingered in her mind, unspoken. Over the past week, she had noticed small cracks in Lucas's stories, a claimed college scholarship that seemed unverifiable, a vague description of a business venture with no online footprint, trips to places that appeared to exist only in his narrative. Tonight, she decided to push gently, so she began, "You mentioned that conference in Denver last month? Which hotel were you at?" Lucas froze. Just for a second. He took a bite of his sandwich, swallowed, and then smiled. "Ah, the Grand Summit. Yeah, that's it. Lovely place. Really." Ava narrowed her eyes slightly. Something didn't align. A quick mental check. The Grand Summit had burned down last year in a minor fire, something she remembered from local news. She held her reaction, forcing a laugh. "Wow, I didn't know it was still open." Lucas waved her off, clearly uncomfortable, but masking it. "Ah, must be a new one. You know how cities rebuild? Anyway, did I tell you about the fundraiser in Lincoln Park?" Ava felt a pang of unease. She had wanted honesty, clarity, but what she got was a pivot. Something in her chest twisted. She remembered her last relationship, where every charming detail had been a web of deception. The memory of lying eyes and hidden truths flashed, and a small, protective voice inside her whispered, "Be careful, Ava. Don't fall too fast." Yet she wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe in the Lucas she saw, the man who laughed easily, who listened with intensity, whose eyes softened whenever she spoke of her childhood or her late father, who had taught her to stand tall and never settle for less than honesty. The picnic continued with conversation that was warm, light, and occasionally teasing, but Ava couldn't shake the tension. Lucas seemed perfect, yet his perfection had adjusted shadows she could feel, but not yet see clearly. Later, as they walked along the lakeshore, the wind tugging at her hair, Lucas's hand brushed hers. The gesture, simple yet intimate, made Ava's heart race. She wanted to let go of the doubt, to immerse herself in this moment. And for a few fleeting minutes, she did. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in oranges and pinks, Ava noticed Lucas's phone buzz. A text from an unknown contact flashed on the screen. "Everything set for tonight? Don't let her know." Her pulse spiked. She didn't mention it. She didn't ask. The journalist in her wanted to pry, to confront. But the woman in her, a woman who had learned to save her trust when it came her way, hesitated that night. Back in her apartment, Ava's thoughts churned. She replayed the picnic, the apple toss, the laughter, the warmth, but that text haunted her. She tried to rationalize it. Maybe it wasn't about her. Maybe it was business. But something instinctively told her it wasn't just business. Sleep came fitfully. She dreamt of shadows dancing on city walls, of laughter echoing down empty streets, of Lucas's smile twisting into something she couldn't recognize. She woke with a start, heart pounding, sense of dread settling deep in her chest. The next day, Lucas called with his usual charm. "Hey, how's my favorite journalist?" He teased, voice warm, casual. But Ava's responses were clipped, careful, Good busy day at work, she replied, thinking about the text, the grand summit, the inconsistencies. Busy, huh? You need a break. Let's get dinner tonight. Just us, she hesitated. Something in her wanted to say no. But the undeniable pull of his presence was stronger than caution. Okay, she whispered, almost too softly to hear. As she hung up, Ava's mind raced. She remembered the time she had trusted someone to Italy only to be burned. And yet, part of her ached for connection, for the kind of love that made the world feel lighter, even if it was risky. Little did Ava know. Lucas's lie wasn't malicious, at least not in the way she imagined. It was calculated, yes, but born from fear, ambition, and secrets that even he wasn't ready to reveal. And as Ava would soon discover, the lie that seemed small today would grow into a storm that could either destroy everything or bring a revelation that would challenge her. Understanding of love, truth, and trust. Because sometimes, the most captivating love begins with the smallest land. The truth is far more dangerous than anyone could anticipate. The week after the picnic felt like a delicate dance on glass. Ava tried to focus on work, editing articles and chasing leads. But her thoughts kept drifting to Lucas. His smile, the warmth of his hand brushing hers. The easy flow of conversation, they lingered like a melody she couldn't stop humming. And yet, the memory of that text, the small inconsistencies, and the shadow of her past betrayal gnawed at her. On Thursday evening, Lucas invited her to a rooftop bar overlooking the Chicago skyline. The city glittered beneath them, skyscrapers and streets bathed in the glow of neon lights. Ava felt the thrill of romance, a kind that makes the world feel suspended. As if nothing outside this moment could touch her, Lucas seemed more relaxed tonight, animated and charming, recounting stories of past adventures. But as the drinks flowed and laughter echoed between them, Ava noticed again the careful way he dodged specifics. So, tell me more about your old company, she pressed lightly, trying to keep her tone casual. Lucas paused, his fingers tracing the rim of his glass. It was complicated. Partners, investors, long story. He smiled, but there was a flicker on, almost imperceptible hesitation that made Ava's pulse quicken. Complicated how? She asked, leaning forward. He laughed, masking the tension. You don't want me to bore you with business drama. Let's talk about you. How was that article you submitted this week? Ava forced a laugh. He had done it again, diverted, charm as a shield. Part of her wanted to push, to demand honesty. But part of her, the part that had been craving connection for years, wanted to forgive, to trust, to believe in the Lucas she loved when he wasn't hiding. Later that night, as they walked down Michigan Avenue, the city alive with music and chatter spilling from bars, Ava felt her defenses slipping. He reached for her hand, and this time she didn't hesitate. But as she looked into his eyes, a nagging thought wouldn't let go. Something about him wasn't right. The next day, Ava decided to follow her journalist's instincts. She started small, checking references, asking casual questions, looking online for mentions of his business ventures. What she found made her stomach twist: sparse mentions, conflicting details, and a few stories that didn't match his words at all. She remembered her father's voice from years ago. Ava, people are rarely who they say they are. Trust is earned, not given. Her heart ached. She wanted to confront him, to demand the truth, but she hesitated. Every time she imagined asking him directly, she saw the warm light of his eyes, the easy laugh, the way he made her feel safe, yet alive. And she wanted that more than she wanted answers. That evening, Lucas showed up at her apartment with 2 slices of Chicago-style deep-dish pizza from Giordano's. I remembered your favorite, he said, placing the box on her kitchen counter. Figured you might need a break from all that serious work. Ava smiled despite herself. Thanks, she said softly, the tension in her chest easing for a moment. They sat together, eating and talking about everything but the lies. For a few hours, the world outside disappeared. Lucas teased her about her love for too much cheese. She complained about the heat from the pizza oven. and they laughed like teenagers. But as Lucas reached for her hand across the table, Ava's phone buzzed. A new email from a contact she didn't know. Subject line, "He's hiding more than you think." Her heart stopped. She didn't show Lucas. She didn't react. She simply forced a smile, nodding as he said, "You okay?" "Yeah," she whispered. But inside, the gears were turning. The lies, the charm, the warmth, it was a dangerous cocktail. One that threatened to ensnare her completely if she let it. That night, Ava lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Torn between two impulses, the need to trust and the need to protect herself. She remembered her last heartbreak vividly, the betrayal that had left her doubting every word, every gesture, every promise. And now, she feared history repeating itself. Even as she admitted a truth she couldn't ignore, Lucas had her completely captivated. The tension between them had grown. The lies were small, but persistent. And Ava knew that the bigger truth, the one he wasn't ready to share, was lurking somewhere beneath the charm. Every smile, every touch, every whispered "I like you" was a gamble. And deep down, she sensed that when the truth finally came out, nothing would be the same, because sometimes love grows faster than trust. And every secret has a way of catching up with you, especially when the person you've fallen for has built their entire world on one carefully crafted lie. The Friday evening skyline was ablaze with city lights. Reflecting off the frozen lake at Grant Park, Ava had promised herself she wouldn't think about Lucas tonight, not after the email, not after the nagging doubts she'd been ignoring all week. Yet as she walked to her apartment, the memory of his laughter, the way his fingers brushed hers, made her chest ache with a dangerous mix of longing and suspicion. She tried to immerse herself in work, editing an article about a new art installation downtown, but her mind kept circling back. What was he hiding? Lucas called around 8, his voice casual, warm. "Hey, Ava. Fancy a walk? Just us?" No distractions. Her journalistic instincts screamed caution, but the pull of him was magnetic. She found herself agreeing, throwing on a leather jacket and heading to the familiar streets of downtown Chicago. The moment they met, his smile was effortless, disarming. They strolled through the quiet avenues, the occasional honking cab punctuating the hum of the city. The night air smelled faintly of rain and roasted chestnuts from a nearby vendor. "I feel like I haven't seen you all week," Lucas said, eyes searching hers. "You've been distant." "Been busy," Ava replied, trying to keep her tone light. Inside, doubt gnawed. She didn't want him to notice the unease building within her. They walked in silence for a few minutes, the sound of their steps echoing off the wet pavement. Then, Lucas stopped near the Riverwalk, turning to face her. His expression was serious. It's a rare break from the charm she had grown accustomed to. "I need to tell you something," he said, voice low. "Something I should have told you from the start." Ava's heart skipped. This was the moment she had been dreading, the truth she had sensed but hadn't wanted to confront. "Haven't been completely honest about my past," Lucas admitted, his fingers nervously tracing the edge of his coat pocket. "The company I mentioned? The trips. Some of it wasn't exactly true. I didn't mean to mislead you, Ava. I just wanted you to see me as I hoped you would." Ava's chest tightened. The words were calm, almost apologetic, yet the betrayal stung sharper than she had expected. She remembered her last relationship, the email, the hidden life, the lies that had shattered trust. And here it was again, history, threatening to repeat itself. "You lied to me?" she whispered, trying to keep her voice steady, though her hands trembled. "Not about us," Lucas said quickly, stepping closer. "I never lied about how I feel about you. That's real. Every laugh, every touch, it's all real." Ava looked into his eyes, searching for the warmth she had fallen for, but the shadow of deceit lingered. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust him. But the journalist in her, the woman who had been burned before, screamed that love built on lies was a dangerous gamble. "I don't know if I can do this," Ava admitted, the words tasting bitter. "I've been here before, trusting someone too fast, and I ended up broken." Lucas reached for her hand, his touch firm yet gentle. "I know," and I don't expect you to forgive me immediately. But I swear, I'm not hiding anything from my heart." Ava's mind raced. She remembered the small inconsistencies, the conference that never existed, the text she hadn't confronted, the vague business ventures, and now the truth she had suspected had come crashing down. Yet, there was something about Lucas, something undeniable. The way he looked at her, the vulnerability hidden behind charm, the honesty in his admission it sparked hope. A dangerous hope she wasn't sure she could resist. For a moment, the world fell away. The river flowed silently beside them, the city lights flickering in reflection, and Ava felt the full weight of the dilemma she faced. To step back, protect herself, and risk losing something real, or to take a leap, to trust again. Knowing the risk of heartbreak loomed, her chest tightened with conflicting emotions: anger, disappointment, longing, and a flicker of excitement. She could feel the tension in every fiber of her body. Her fingers brushed his, hesitant, testing the reality of his touch. Lucas waited, patient, as if understanding the storm inside her. "I can't change the past," he said softly, "but I can be honest with you from now on. I promise you that." Ava's eyes welled with tears. The betrayal was raw, immediate, but so was the pull she felt toward him. The love that had blossomed between them fast, consuming, dangerous, was still there, threaded with the lie that had ignited it, and in that moment she realized the truth. Sometimes, the heart knows what it wants, even when the mind screams caution. Sometimes, the most profound love begins with a lie, and the real test is whether the lie can survive the weight of honesty. They stood in silence, the city buzzing around them, a world of possibilities and consequences stretching out like the river at their feet. Ava's heart ached with the knowledge that this was only the beginning, because love, when entangled with deception, is never simple, and the choices she made tonight would shape everything that followed. Monday mornings in Chicago were always relentless. The streets buzzed with taxis, construction, and office workers rushing to meetings. Ava's apartment smelled faintly of coffee, the aroma grounding her as she scrolled through her emails. Work deadlines loomed, but her thoughts were tangled in one persistent question: can I trust Lucas? Her best friend, Jenna Collins, noticed the tension immediately during their usual lunch break at a small cafe near the Loop. Jenna, practical and fiercely loyal, had been Ava's confidant for years. "You're acting distracted," she said, stirring her iced latte. "Something happened with him?" Ava hesitated, fingers tightening around her fork. "It's complicated," she admitted. "I just don't know if I can fully trust him. He's charming, funny, everything I didn't know I wanted, but there are gaps, things that don't add up." Jenna leaned forward, eyes sharp. "Gaps like what?" "Lies." Ava's stomach knotted. She wanted to confide, but the journalist in her hesitated. Lucas had been vulnerable, admitting some lies, asking for trust. I don't know if they're lies in the malicious sense, but yes, things don't match, and I keep wondering what else he's hiding. Jenna's expression softened. "Ava, I get it. I really do. But you have to listen to your gut. It's usually right. You've been burned before you know the warning signs." Her words lingered, echoing in Ava's mind long after lunch. Later that afternoon, while covering a feature on a new art gallery opening downtown, Ava's phone buzzed with a message from Lucas. "Meet me tonight. I want to explain everything properly." The evening air was crisp, the city alive with neon reflections off wet streets. Ava hesitated before replying, then texted back, "Okay, 7 p.m. We'll talk." When she arrived at the small, dimly lit bistro he had chosen, Lucas was already there, seated at a corner table. He looked calm, but Ava could see the tension behind his eyes. She sat down, and for a moment, neither spoke. The weight of unspoken truths filled the space between them. "I know I've made mistakes," Lucas began, voice steady, "and I understand why you're cautious. But there's something you need to know something about why I did what I did." Ava's heart pounded. She wanted answers. She wanted honesty. And part of her feared what she would hear. Lucas leaned in, lowering his voice. The trips I mentioned, the company, some of it was exaggerated. But it wasn't just to impress you. I was trying to protect someone from my past. I can't go into details yet. But I want you to know, it's not about deceiving you. It's about safety. Ava's chest tightened. Her mind raced, processing the implication. Safety? Who needed protection? And why hadn't he said anything sooner? I don't know if I can just accept that, she admitted, voice trembling. I've fallen for you, Lucas. And now I don't know what's real and what isn't. I don't know if I can trust anything you say. Lucas reached across the table, gently taking her hand. I know, I understand. And I'm not asking you to trust blindly. I'm asking you to wait. To let me prove that my feelings for you are real, that what we have is real. The sincerity in his eyes, the subtle vulnerability, tugged at her heart. She wanted to believe him. But the journalist and Hertha woman who had learned the cost of blind trust hesitated. The conversation was interrupted by a commotion outside. A small group of street performers had drawn a crowd. Their music lively, their energy contagious. Ava glanced at the city around them, bright lights, moving cars. Distant sirens, and realized how easily life moved forward, indifferent to secrets, lies, or heartbreak. That night, as Ava walked home, she reflected on her choices. Lucas's partial truths hung heavy in her mind, but so did the moments of genuine connection, the laughter, the warmth, the rare feeling of being truly seen. She realized she was standing at a crossroads, one path leading to caution and self-protection, the other two risk vulnerability and the intoxicating pull of love. Her apartment felt cold when she returned. The city noises muted behind closed windows. She poured herself a glass of wine, replaying Lucas's words over and over. It's about safety, not deception. The phrase echoed, confusing her heart. How much of love could survive when built on secrets, even if those secrets were meant to protect? The night stretched long and sleepless. Ava knew that by the next morning, she would have to make a choice or risk being pulled further into a story she wasn't sure she was ready for, and somewhere in the city's heartbeat, Lucas waited, unaware that the web of truth and lies surrounding him was tightening, threatening not just their love, but the very foundation of trust Ava held sacred. Because when a lie grows alongside love, every decision becomes a risk. Can change every risk, can change everything. The week crawled by like molasses. Ava couldn't focus at work, couldn't sleep, couldn't stop thinking about Lucas. Every interaction with him, every laugh and touch now carried a subtle tension, like walking on a tightrope over a city of secrets. That Thursday evening, Lucas insisted they meet at a quiet, upscale jazz lounge downtown. Ava agreed, though her gut tightened with unease. She entered the dimly lit room, smoky with the scent of aged whiskey and polished wood, and saw him waiting near the stage. He smiled, that magnetic smile that had pulled her in from the very beginning. But tonight there was gravity behind his eyes. They ordered drinks and sat at a corner table. Lucas's hand found hers across the small round surface, as though he could anchor her hesitation with his touch. I need to tell you everything, he said softly, almost pleading. No more half-truths, no more secrets. Ava's chest tightened. This was the moment she had feared and somehow anticipated. Go on, she whispered. He took a deep breath. Ava, the reason I lied about my business, the trips, the people I mentioned, it wasn't just to impress you. There's someone from my past I've been protecting. Someone dangerous. I couldn't tell you the details because I didn't want to put you in danger. Ava's heart thudded painfully. Her mind raced, picturing scenarios she didn't want to imagine. But before she could respond, Lucas leaned closer, voice dropping to a murmur. It's about my brother, Dylan. He got involved with some people. Shady people. I had to cover the truth to keep him safe. I didn't want you caught in it. Ava's eyes widened. Her stomach turned. She hadn't expected this. Lies for safety. A hidden family crisis. Everything suddenly made sense, yet the fear inside her grew. Your brother? She breathed. Lucas. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I couldn't risk it. I didn't want to scare you. I wanted you to see me, not the danger surrounding me. The weight of it pressed down on her, suffocating and real. For the first time, she saw the man behind the charm, the vulnerability, the fear, the love that had brought him here. Her chest ached with a mix of relief and tension. Relief that he hadn't been deceitful for selfish reasons. Tension because this web of lies had nearly pulled them apart. Ava's mind flashed to past heartbreaks, betrayals that had left scars she thought she had healed. And yet, she saw the truth in Lucas's eyes, the sincerity that refused to be masked. Could love survive when entwined with danger and deception? Could she forgive a lie born from fear, protection, and love? The rest of the evening was a fragile dance between confession and comfort. Lucas spoke carefully, revealing just enough, threading honesty with caution, letting Ava grasp the edges of his truth. He spoke of nights spent worrying for his brother, the constant vigilance, the sacrifices he had made. And Ava, feeling the gravity of it, understood not all lies are born from malice. Some are survival. Yet even in understanding, fear lingered. The city outside the lounge seemed louder, harsher, as if warning her that the calm moment was fleeting. Her phone buzzed quietly and her purse a message from Dylan Bennett. "Everything okay? Stay careful." Ava's chest tightened further. The danger wasn't abstract, it was real, close and threatening. And in that moment, she realized that falling in love with Lucas meant more than vulnerability, it meant risk. Emotional risk, yes, but now physical and social as well. As they left the lounge, the streets wet with rain from an earlier storm, Lucas pulled her close. "I know this is a lot," he murmured, "and I don't expect forgiveness overnight. But I swear, Ava, everything I feel for you is real." Her fingers trembled in his grasp. She wanted to resist, to step back, to guard her heart. But she couldn't. Every fiber of her being, every longing, every flicker of hope, every desire for connection pulled her toward him. That night, Ava lay awake staring at the ceiling. She replayed the evening over and over, the truths and half-truths. The danger and the love intertwined so tightly that they seemed inseparable. She realized something terrifying and exhilarating. She was in love. And love, when bound to leasive and protective ones, was a gamble unlike any she had ever taken. Somewhere in the city, Lucas waited, unaware that the revelation of his past and the truth of his protective lies had irrevocably shifted the balance between them. And Ava understood, with a mix of fear and exhilaration, that the final test of trust and love had only just begun, because sometimes love at first lie isn't just about attraction, it's about discovering who someone truly is behind the shadows, and whether your heart can survive the darkness alongside them. The following week felt like a storm both inside and out. Chicago's skies mirrored Ava's inner turmoil. Dark clouds rolling over the skyline. Intermittent rain splattering the streets, reflecting neon lights and jagged shards. Every step she took through the loop reminded her of Lucas. The lies, the truths, and the precarious balance between love and caution. Lucas called that evening, voice gentle but urgent. "Ava, I need you to come to the warehouse tonight. It's my brother. Something's happening, and I can't do this without you." Ava's chest tightened. Her instincts screamed caution, but the pull, love, loyalty, adrenaline was impossible to resist. She grabbed her coat, phone, and keys and stepped into the rain-slicked streets, heart pounding as she imagined what awaited her. The warehouse stood at the edge of the industrial district, quiet except for the hum of a single security light. Inside, shadows danced across crates and shipping containers. Ava's pulse raced. Lucas appeared from the darkness, his expression tense, eyes scanning the area. "He's inside," he said, leading her toward a locked office door. Inside, Dylan Bennett. Lucas's younger brother was cornered by two men, their intentions clear in the harsh lines of their faces. Ava's stomach dropped. She had never been so close to danger, and yet she felt an unexpected calm and understanding that love sometimes meant standing in the fire. "Stay back," Lucas whispered. placing himself between Ava and the men. His earlier lies, the protective secrecy, they all made sense now. Every deception, every half-truth, had been to safeguard the people he cared about, including her. The confrontation escalated quickly. Words were exchanged, threats made. Dylan's eyes flicked toward Ava, a silent plea, a recognition that she was more than a bystander now. And in that moment, Ava understood the full weight of Lucas's love, the lies, the charm. The risks, they were all part of a man trying to protect those he loved. With quick thinking, Lucas distracted the men, giving Dylan a chance to slip out a back exit. Ava, heart hammering, stayed close, following his lead. Every step, every glance, every heartbeat amplified the gravity of the situation. This wasn't a story she could write about, it was reality, raw and unfiltered. Finally, after what felt like hours compressed into moments, the danger passed. The men left, and the warehouse fell silent except for the distant hum of the city. Ava sank against a crate, chest heaving, hands trembling not just from fear, but from the emotional intensity of the night. Lucas knelt beside her, voice soft. "You're safe. You're okay?" His eyes, full of raw vulnerability, met hers. "I didn't want you involved in this, but I also couldn't bear the thought of losing you. I lied to protect, yes, but my feelings, they've always been real." Ava stared at him, a flood of emotions washing over her. Relief, fear, love, and understanding. The lies had been a test, a barrier, a shadow, but the truth underneath was undeniable. Lucas's love wasn't manufactured. It was real, fierce, and unrelenting. Tears filled her eyes, and she reached for his hands, gripping them tightly. I get it now. I understand why you lied," she whispered. "And I love you. Even with the lies, even with everything. I can't deny it." Lucas's lips curved into a small, relieved smile. "Love at first lie," he murmured, echoing the phrase that had haunted and enticed her from the very beginning. "That's us, Ava. Messy, complicated, but real." For the first time since meeting him, the weight in Ava's chest lifted. The city outside continued its chaotic rhythm, honking cars. Distant sirens, neon reflections, but inside that warehouse, in the quiet aftermath of fear and revelation, she felt clarity. Love was never simple, but sometimes it was worth every risk. The weeks that followed were not perfect. Lucas remained vigilant. Dylan's situation required careful handling, and the shadow of past lies lingered like a reminder. But Ava found a strength she hadn't known before, the ability to trust, to forgive, and to embrace a love that had been born in imperfection. Their relationship grew deeper, grounded in honesty, vulnerability, and shared experience. Every laugh, every touch, every moment together carried weight now. The lessons of deception, trust, and courage were etched into their hearts. And sometimes, when the city glimmered in twilight, Ava would glance at Lucas and smile, remembering the lie that had started it all. A lie that could have destroyed them, yet had instead ignited a love fierce enough to survive danger, fear, and doubt, because in life, as in love, sometimes the most profound connections emerge from shadows, and even the smallest lie can lead to the greatest truth.